You've been looking pretty good these last few weeks, man.
Yeah, I got a secret stash of the stuff from the mail.
Oh,
Yeah,
you got the Caldera Lab stuff too, huh?
I did get it.
Dude, this is some great stuff, man. It's a 3-product regimen. You can go to their website and check the third-party results yourself. You don't have to believe Ray or I, but we've both been using it. It's great stuff. The 3-product regimen of the good, the base layer, and the clean slate. People who have used it are experiencing smoother and healthier looking skin. It's really great stuff. Go over to calderalab.com and use promo code Deluxe for 20% off. This is a great deal, Ray.
Yeah, look good, feel good, live good. That's what I always say.
Absolutely. calderalab.com. Use promo code Deluxe for 20% off of your entire order.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Deluxe Edition. I am your host, Casey Shearer. Joining me, as always, he's one of the last of the dogmen, L. Ray Sexton.
What's going on, Casey?
Not much, buddy. Prior to that little intro here, I'm just looking around my room, seeing if there's any quotes. I always like to give you a new intro.
Yeah.
And that was the last thing that I looked at, the last of the dogmen that was signed by our guest Tab Murphy.
Nice. That's right.
So what's going on, buddy?
So we just had another incredible interview. We're not even going to pretend like we didn't just talk to this guy because that's silly, right?
Yeah, it's silly. I mean, we do it every week, but that's the shtick. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, that's the shtick. But we just talked to Tommy Lee Driver, who is amazing and a lot of fun to talk to, and hopefully comes back because he was fun. And Casey really was insulting, but you're gonna have to listen to the interview to find out where. Nah, just kidding.
Yeah, no, Tommy was a great dude. I met Tommy on the set of Roseblood, Friday the 13th, a fan film directed and written by our buddy Peter Anthony. What a great dude. I didn't even know like some of the stuff that we talked about. I mean, I was pretty familiar with some of the things that Tommy's done, just in the conversations that we had on set and at the premiere of Roseblood. But very interesting conversation, very interesting guy. Check it out right after this quick house cleaning. We are a part of the Deluxe Edition Network. You can find all of the other great shows over at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. And the podcasts of the month this month are,
if I'm not mistaken, that would be the Barrel Aged Chicks and Deep Dark Secrets.
Yes, you are correct. Barrel Aged Chicks, the sister show of Barrel Aged Flicks, and Deep Dark Secrets talks about the death fetish predators out there on the internet. It's a deep, dark podcast, Ray, but highly recommended. They're doing a great thing exposing these fucking creeps. Mm-hmm. So check them out. And you can find us over on Instagram and Twitter at Deluxe Edition Pod. And Ray is handling everything over at Instagram. I'm trying my best at Twitter. It's a lot of work. All right. Let's see. You can find us over at patreon.com/deluxe edition pod. If you'd like to support the show, you can head over there and you can find all of our shows unedited, and you can find them immediately following the show posted over there. Or you could buy a t-shirt over at whatamaneuver.net/collection/deluxe-edition. And let's see. This week's episode is brought to you by Caldera Lab, Ray. Head over to calderalab.com and use code DELUXE for 20% off. This is really great stuff, Ray. Make sure everyone you get this stuff before Father's Day. Your dad needs a gift. Head over to calderalab.com. Use promo code DELUXE for 20% off.
That is correct, because if you want your dad, you probably are like everybody else and your parents are divorced. He wants to pick up younger chicks. He's going to have to knock 10 years off his age. You can do that with this stuff. It's that good.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, Ray's been using it. He's actually 75 years old.
That's right.
So he looks pretty fucking good.
Goddamn right.
All right. Check this shit out. CalderaLab.com, promo code DELUXE for 20% off. And Ray, where can people find you, bud?
Well, they can find me on Instagram at the Deluxe Edition Pod, because I run that shit. But if you want to actually have a custom t-shirt made of whatever the fuck you want, head on over to TeePublic, 10 Cent Beer Night podcast page. That's where I put the stuff that you want. You want a t-shirt that's custom made for you? I can make that happen. Just send me the crap on Instagram to our messenger page or whatever the fuck it is. You want big titty girl pictures? That's fine. You want, bootleg Lost Boys crap? I don't care. I'll make it because we need money. And since our Patreon doesn't do a lot, I got to make us some money somehow. So 10 Cent Beer Night podcast. Go check out some of the episodes. They're still up.
Yeah. And Ray's been taking care of the Instagram page and the bootleg shirts, Ray. They've been kind of selling like hotcakes, right? I love the pictures that you've been posting over there. I've been getting a little flack from my girlfriend. She's what's going on with these photos of all these girls? I have nothing to do with the Instagram page anymore.
All I know is that I might have mentioned that hot chicks should be wearing the white tank top deluxe edition bootleg for summer because they look hot in it, and I was right. They're buying them. You can see the pictures over on Instagram. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, go get them.
Unless you have
a summertime.
Unless you have a girlfriend, then it's a problem that you're looking at the pictures. But
no, buy your girlfriend one. They need one too.
And your mom. I don't care. Get your grandma one.
All right. Here's our interview with Tommy Lee Driver. Tommy.
Hey, brother.
What's going on, dude?
Hey, I'm good, man. I just making sure that my lighting is pretty good in here. I could be in my studio across the hallway here, but I thought I'll sit in my office.
You look good, man. Looks fine. What's that behind you? Are those your military medals there behind you?
Oh, that's called the Shadow Box. That's it's a combination. It's a consolidation of all your major achievements in the military. That when you retire, they kind of capture all your history in a box, and that's from your rank to your ribbons, and then the flag that is, being flown during your retirement ceremony, and then they kind of put it into a box and say, thank you for your service.
So let's start there. Let's start with the military career. So you were in the Army, right?
No, I was in the Air Force as enlisted for about 5.5. And then I got my commission in the Navy, and I retired after 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. What made you decide to join the service?
Well, I finished. Let me see here. Why'd you have to go back on that far back? I graduated from high school, turned down a football scholarship and an academic scholarship. I had two different colleges to enroll in a broadcasting school so I could be a radio announcer, TV broadcaster. My dad's still active duty at the time, and he had orders to England, and I went off to Minneapolis for college training. And then after about 4.5 years of being in radio, TV broadcasting, this is in Wichita Falls, Texas. I had a program called Air Force Now where I play a tape during whatever hour segment, and the guy that was bringing in the tape said, "Man, if you want to get your degree done, Air Force will pay for it." So that was I didn't finish my degree. I had at least 2 years. So I thought, I want to get my degree done. So I joined the Air Force, became a EMT paramedic, was on a PA program, physician assistant to be a PA. And then that program closed. And then I just worked on my master's, received my master's in healthcare administration, and got picked up for a commission in the Navy, running hospitals and clinics and all that good stuff.
What does that mean? The commission, picked up by the commission. What does that?
Well, normally there's two ways you can come into military. You come in as enlisted. That sometimes says without having to come out of college. That's where anybody off the street, if you will, regardless of high school or higher, you can join and become enlisted. That's enlisted ranks. You're not commissioned. Commission means that you have been given an officer role in the military, which requires a minimum of a 4-year degree. And now you're the officer, just like a colonel, just like in the movie Colonel Chase. He went to school. The general went to school, could go to a Army Academy or military academy school. And that means you're an officer in charge of enlisted people. So it's like having supervisors and workers. So that's the best way of putting it together.
So you mentioned you were an EMT for a paramedic. What type of schooling you have to go to for that? Is it the same that like a regular EMT?
Oh, yes, sir.
In the civilian life would have to go to, or?
Yes. So when we go through what they call basic training, like 6-8 weeks enlisted basic training, then you get a school to give you a technical code or skill set. Mine was in hospital corpsmanship, like being a corpsman or a medic. And that requires us to go through, in the Air Force at the time, through a program that was like maybe 8 weeks long at school. And upon graduation, you got a skill level, like a code name like 5305 or whatever that may be. And you go to your first duty station. And as you're there, you have to do what they call continual education in that field. So I was in Phoenix, Glendale, Arizona, Luke Air Force Base. So everybody knows what that is. That's Luke Air Force Base. So if you're an EMT, just like the civilian EMTs, you got to take the same state requirements to be an EMT. I did that. Then you have to take what they call, let's say, national requirements to be an advanced cardiac life support. That's a paramedic, where you can do defibrillators and do medicines out in the field when somebody has a heart attack. So I became ACLS certified as well. So I had to go through all those certifications. That's equivalent to what civilians have to go through as well.
Wow.
So out in the real world, have you ever had to use that on somebody?
Yes, sir. Yes. In the military, though, I did it in the military where when I was enlisted, and I got to go back when I truly drove an ambulance, just like think of a civilian hospital. It just runs like in the military. We had a call, and it was a drowning victim. And it was a baby that was in the pool. Baby probably was less than 2 years old. And the mother was freaking out, and we got the call. And I have a driver, and then I'm the guy who's like in the passenger seat, jumps out first to go assess the situation, where the driver gets out of the vehicle and gets maybe the gurney or the tool, the first aid kit and so on. So I go into the house, the baby's on the floor, non-responsive, blue. And I just started performing child CPR, finally put some oxygen on the baby, did some, intubation and so on. The baby recovered, and that was a big deal. And then we had the baby medevaced. And then another patient, a wife found her husband, who was obese, had a heart attack. He's in his bed. We get there at night, and I get on the horn just like watching TV, and I said, I got a 60-something-year-old man, no vitals, whatever I was saying at the time. And the doctor says, okay, go ahead and shock him. So I did all that. And he was probably dead for more than, I would say, an hour. I'm guessing based at the time, because when we got the call, you just got to still do what you got to do. And then we had to bring him back to the hospital. And then that's when the doctor pronounced him dead. So I've done 2. I was the only one at the time that did advanced cardiac life support as a paramedic at that time on the base.
That's got to be a lot of adrenaline pumping through your system when you come flying out of that ambulance. Like, first you're in this ambulance and you're not the one driving, so that guy's probably driving like a lunatic.
Well, we got lost with the drowning victim. We got lost because the street name. There's avenue, there's road. So when she gave us the name of the street or whatever, it was like, Cascade Boulevard versus Cascade Lane or something like that. Yeah. And my driver was like, and I get back on the horn calling, I'm like, dispatch, give us a landmark. The woman's in panic mode. So she goes, oh, we're near the flagpole. And we go, oh my goodness, that 4 blocks that way. So you got to have somebody that's in control, in the passenger or me, and I'm the senior tech at the time. And so you let the junior kind of guy drive, if you will, because you're going to be the first one who goes on the scene and assess the situation. And that's why I jumped out and did what I had to do.
And that's probably before the days of GPS and all that too, right? You're just going by where they tell you to go.
It's address and maybe a map. Address, you better know your environment and a map.
See, that's why they should have had pizza guys driving ambulances back then, because they had that 30 minutes or less thing, and those guys every street in every city.
Yeah, that's true. Well, doing EMT stuff, I think even Casey knows this, even on the set of Roseblood, I had 2 scenarios where, for me, it's simple stuff for me. It's just, I don't panic. You got an injury, you got a cut, you got this. I just get into that mode. And and then in the Air Force as an enlisted, when you're making those decisions, that's one thing. But when you're now an officer in the Navy on 2 aircraft carriers, I'm in charge of the entire medical department. I'm the disaster preparedness officer. I got to make calls on how to send, say, a response team or emergency team to different locations on the ship. And that's me assessing the disaster that's going on a ship. I'm the only one that can make those calls. The doctors are waiting for the patient, but I can be saying stuff over, we got a mass casualty on deck 30. I need battle dressing station number 5 to report to the starboard side on this deck to go ba-dip-a-dap-a-do. So I'm making all those calls while I'm looking at a board. So, and you got the XO sitting there behind you going, okay, God, okay, driver's on board. Okay, we're good. Because I don't panic. I just go, okay, it's an accident. Man. That's what we got to do.
Well, that's why you're trained to do that,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine how Casey would handle that job, because he panics, like his anxiety gets the best of him all the time.
Oh, stop. He does not. He's so cool.
And my anxiety gets the best of me before some of these interviews, but like in a situation like that, like I've had like a gas grill already like go up in flames, and I just went over, like my girlfriend at the time was panicking. She didn't know what to do. I was inside, and I just walked out and turned the gas off of the propane first, and I forget exactly what happened, but it I just took care of it, because panicking, when people panic, that's the worst. That's when shit goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think for me, it's like, even when in acting, I think we're going to get to that, but even on a set that's chaotic, that's when I'm in my element. I sometimes things slow down a little bit, it kind of gets to the point where I could see a move or see somebody's reaction before they make it. It's the same thing when I was in karate tournaments. I used to do tournaments all my career. And I would get in the tournament. I know he was going to throw a back kick. I knew he was going to do the following. I could see it because everything's motion really fast for people. And to me, in a disaster, things seem to slow down, and I can actually make better decisions. It's hard to put words to that. It's just part of that gift, I think.
Yeah. One of the hardest things that would be for me to do that job, the EMT things, is dealing with the children like that. Like that's the hardest, when you see kids, like any kids like dealing with injuries or cancer. Like the one guest that we had, JD Slackert, he goes into children's hospitals and talks to kids and stuff like that. That shit, I mean, more power to him, because that's where I would be panicking, and like if a situation with a child like that.
Well, I think when you say the word panic, one of the things that I learned doing, say, advanced cardiac life support, you can have a guy who's in his 60s laying on a bed, not breathing, non-responsive. You approach it kind of hopefully the same way. It's a life. You want to bring life back. You see a little baby, 2 years old, 2 or 3. This baby 2 years old. I think baby was 2. Mother let the kid somehow get to the back door, sliding door, and goes off into the pool. She pulled him out. She didn't know what to do after that. She didn't know what to do. So she's panicked. So if I'm panicking, it's a kid, I couldn't have made the decisions I made. One of the things the paramedic training says, you don't put 100% oxygen on a child, especially when you don't even understand what the cause is, why they're not breathing and so on. I call for it because to me, the color, doing the chest compressions, everything, trying to see if there's any water in the mouth and everything. I was doing everything right that you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But until I put that oxygen on that kid, because I first had an ambu bag and I was doing this, and I said to my guy, I said, go get me the O2 tank. And he kind of looked at me too, like he did what he had to do. And I said, put it at 100. When the paramedic that brought the O2 saw that decision and the color went from blue to normal color. Okay. And then when we finally get it to our hospital and our pediatrician on call, he's a colonel, calls the whatever emergency hospital, civilian hospital that we're going to be medevacing, helo this kid. They said that kid has no brain damage, nothing. So good on your paramedics for making the decisions they made. So is that too? I don't know if anybody would have made the same decision when I'm getting at.
Right. I don't know. Damn, man. So you mentioned Roseblood. One of the scenes where you could have panicked. I guess some people would have panicked. I think it was this scene. I'm just gonna pop this picture up over us real quick. Okay. It's where you had the blade coming through you. What am I right on this? Where when Jason grabbed that, was the blade the real blade and slid it off?
Yeah, to my memory, when we were doing the rehearsal or the scene, and then he grabbed it, it's a real blade, and he did cut his hand. To my memory, in that, if that's what you're asking, he did cut it. Yeah. But he was okay. I mean, I didn't panic on that. I think the one is when I'm against the wall, and Tina, when General loses the gun and it hits her in the head by accident, and I hear somebody say, "Tommy," and I kind of I'm pretending I'm dead. I wake up and she's like, "Oh," and I just started to assess her like I would. I looked at her eyes. I did all the visual acuity tests that I know how to do, and then verify. I said, "Give me an ice pack. Go give me this. Go ahead and do, and just get through it." It seems fun.
So I thought you were talking about. So I didn't even know about that scene.
Yeah,
about when she got hit in the head with that.
Yeah, when Peter is fighting Jason, and he grabs his hand, the gun flips off his hand by accident, and it hits Tina in the head. And for real, and I heard it. I just thought it was part of the scene. Hear boom, and then I hear screaming. And then I hear somebody say cut, and then medic or Tommy, I heard my name, and then I just popped my head open and just kind of walked forward because I'm not really pinned to the wall. And then I just went from there and assessed her there.
Damn. All right, so let's talk about Roseblood a little bit. That's where I met you.
Yes, sir.
You were I think you were the first person that I met at the set that morning because Joe Caban, he was in charge of setting everything up with telling people when to be there and everything. And my days had got screwed up a little bit. I was supposed to be there, I think, a couple days prior to that, but shooting schedules were a little messed up. And the day that I was there, I was told to be there, I think, at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And I get there, and like you're just sitting there, I think, probably preparing for a role, like reading a script or something. And we hit it off right away. And then Joe's like, "Oh yeah, you're not going to be shooting until a little bit later on."
Yeah.
And I don't think I shot until like 4:30 that afternoon.
Yeah.
But so how did you get involved with Roseblood? You were in Vengeance prior to that, right?
Yes, sir. Well, quick story there. Let's see. We finished Vengeance. I met Peter on the Chain Gang. I play Reggie, and let's see. And then everybody goes and does their other projects after that. They had a great Vengeance movie and so on. I was sitting in my basement at the time there in Port Orchard, and I was with my nephew, and we were just having a good time talking. And I get a call, and it was Peter, and I took the call, and he goes, "Hey, brother, I really need your help. What are you doing on this particular date of time?" And I said, "Well, I'm on hold for a role, and I just did an audition, so I'm kind of sitting, wondering if I'm going to get booked for something." He goes, "Well, I had a guy in the movie that I'm directing and writing, and he said I couldn't think of anybody that could replace somebody like this character but you, because of knowing you and everything else." And he says, "I think you'd be perfect as Colonel Chase." And I said, "Well, let me pray about it," because I said, "Peter, I'm like in a holding pattern, like this." He goes, "It really would help me out, brother." I said, "Boy, hard to say no to Peter." So I said, let me pray. Let me call you back. So I get off the phone with him. I called my agent, and I said, "If I get called back on this role, is it okay if I tell them that I got an opportunity on a film?" And she goes, "Yeah, if they call you back, that'd be great." And then on hold one was a film that I already booked for, and I texted that director and I said, "I have an opportunity. Can we shoot my dates on a different date?" And she said, "Yeah, we can arrange that." I'm like, everything's lining up. So I called Peter back and I said, "Peter," I said, "I checked my sources. I feel good in the spirit about it." I said, "I'll be happy to do it for you." And he goes, "Oh, that's great." And he goes, "It's like on a Friday or Saturday." And he goes, "Okay, I'm going to send you the script and you start shooting on Monday." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So once he sent me the script, and I looked, I thought it was a minor role. I didn't realize I was in a major movie here. And my first scene was the introduction of my fast team. And everybody's wondering how I had all those lines memorized in less than 3 days. I think I had like 65 lines in the whole movie or something like that. But it was a great experience. I think being, asked and then prepping and then getting into it was fun. That was a good 3 or 4 days of shooting. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, you did a great job, man. And we were talking about this there and up in Connecticut at the premiere of it. Also, your military background helped a lot with you playing the colonel in the movie.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned praying on it.
Yeah.
You're a preacher, right? I remember us talking about that.
Yeah, I call myself, well, I don't call myself, I'm a telemedia evangelist. Telemedia, meaning I'm on pretty much every social media network. My series is called Sharing the Word and Take 5. And then I have a YouTube channel called TLDM Evangelistic Media Network. And it has Christian movies. It has my sermon series on there. And then we're also on a TV channel called Galilee TV, which is a TV channel on Roku, which you can watch classic television of all types of classic stuff. And then I have a segment there. They put our ministry on there as well.
Very cool. Let's go back into Roseblood a little bit. So
Okay.
you've been in a bunch of movies and television shows since then, and prior to that, has there ever been a set like that, like with because that's the first set that I've ever been on, or the one and only set that I've ever been on, but it had such a great vibe. I was just there that one day, and I still talk to you. I still talk to Michael Ortiz all the time. I still talk to Peter. I just got off the phone with Peter a little while ago tonight. I mean, it was just like, it felt like a family atmosphere.
Yes. Yeah.
Are most sets like that?
Oh, most sets like that. Every set has its own culture, its own organic feel to it. I've worked with some of the people there. Sanaya was one. Peter, Jason, I've worked with them in the past. With Peter being the director, the writer, and starring in the movie, I was more in awe or impressed from going from Vengeance to his role in that. And so because of that relationship of working with somebody on another set, now he's the boss. You kind of go, okay, I'm going to have to step up my performance to help him, because I know the stressors could be a little bit higher now that you're directing, writing, and also starring. So it felt good, especially in the short notice. And I think just like in an emergency situation, sometimes, the best coordination is when you have an emergency going on. And I think for me, it made things more fluid. I've been on sets that are kind of organized and didn't have the same cohesiveness or collegial gelling that was on Roseblood film at all. I've been on some good sets, even just one I finished in March, and that was a major motion picture. It wasn't the same. It's different. It was impressive. A major studio movie compared to what we did with Roseblood, studio movie Roseblood. There was more family feeling at Roseblood than on a major studio set that I was just on. That says a lot. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I was just talking with someone about Roseblood today or yesterday. That was his first take at writing, not acting, but directing. And it's ranked as the best Friday the 13th fan film of all time. I mean, that's a pretty great accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. The acting was good
for your first project, and acting in it also. Yeah,
the acting was really impressive. Terry Kaiser's in there. I mean, you got to go how you did all that and put it all together. Yeah. Oh, there. Thank you. Wow. The three amigos. There you go.
Yeah. I got this one too, real quick too, before we move on. That's me and you and yeah, good times, man. Good times. Yeah. So how did you get back in that? So you went to school for broadcasting, right? Originally went to school for broadcasting, like radio broadcasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get involved with acting? Were you acting back in high school too? Were you doing plays and stuff like that?
So all through high school, I did sports and acting. Did plays. What are you going to say? Acting in junior high to high school. I did musicals, talent shows, all that stuff. And when it came time to make a election, what you're going to do in your senior year, I had a scholarship offer to the University of Omaha for academics. So that's an academic scholarship. And then I had a tentative, but yet kind of like a walk-on, they're going to dangle, we'll give you a scholarship, you got to try out kind of thing at a smaller college for football. But I told my professors there, I said, I want to be an actor. And they said, okay, well, to be an actor, there's two places, LA and New York. I'm in Nebraska. So I was like, wow. And then my professor, drama teacher, I always say professor now because I was, but my drama teacher says, Tommy, you have a great gift of talent, meaning you can sing, you can dance, you can do all these different things. He says, but you got a great voice. And I said, wow. And he said, why don't you look at something like radio or TV broadcasting? They said that's a good way to break into acting. And I said, well, how do we do that? So they actually invited a DJ from one of the radio stations to come to our class, drama/communications class, told us all about the history of radio and TV. And it led to me to know what school to apply for. And I had to do a demo tape, an audition tape, and all this other stuff. And at the time, my parents are packing up to move to England because my dad's active duty. Now, I had to turn down my scholarship for academics. I turned down an opportunity to play football. And now I'm waiting to see if my application got approved for me to go to Minneapolis to go to broadcasting school. I came through at the last moment, packed my car up and drove all the way to Minneapolis, got into school. After about 15 months of training, my first broadcasting job was in Wichita Falls, Texas. Did that for 4 years, joined the Air Force, did some more broadcasting because somebody likes my teaching style. They say I got a great voice. Got into the Armed Forces Radio Network, did that for a little bit. Then I got a call to preach. Then I'm preaching, I'm teaching, getting your degrees, and I finish all that. And it just, once you start doing teaching, preaching, doing all those things, you're kind of in front of an audience all the time because I do storytelling. And then finally I retire, and my spirit inside was like, okay, I'm doing my ministry on the radio and TV. And then all of a sudden I heard there was an open audition in Seattle. I prayed about it. I went down there, and the guy said, here's a commercial, because you pick 2 areas you want to do, either sing, dance, commercial, or a scene read with somebody. I did commercial and I think a scene read. Once I did the commercial, they said you can hold it. Audience is right there. Panels on the side, and they go. So then they call me back. They said, now we have the national showcase in Orlando, Florida. There was probably 2,000 plus people there. And you have agents all over the country. And if you got picked in any of those categories as one of the top in that area, and I got picked to be commercial voice, and I did my commercial that I wrote for my restaurant at the time. And I had, I don't know, 3 or 4 talent agencies from Tyler Perry on asking me if I wanted representation. And that's where the life of full-time acting started, January of 2017.
So,
Nice.
so let me get this straight. You actually had a guidance counselor who was actually worth a shit.
That's good. I like that. It was my drama teacher, not guidance counselor.
Okay, never mind that, because I've never heard anyone say that their guidance counselor actually guided them anywhere. So, all right, we're still on par with how it works. Okay.
Okay, yeah, it was my drama teacher. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I like
I
that.
make sure I heard that right.
Yeah, because we used to do in drama class, you could do monologues, or he'll give a story. He'll tell you a story, and you go, who wants to stand up and do the first story? And he'll go, okay, Tommy, a cat is eating whatever, a mouse or something. Walk me through what's happening. And I'll be up and just creating a story. And that was part of the training that they said that I have that natural gift of improv. And then when I did improv training, when I finally got back into acting, I did dinner theater. I did improv, training. I get on now movie sets, TV sets, and the director says, I want this improv. And I seen the actors go, oh, and I'm like, yes. And I just started rolling with it.
There's all different kinds of improv too, right? We were talking to John Ross Bowie about that. Like, what type of improv were you trained in?
Well, mine is really short form. It's kind of like where you could just take a story and just play it out. There's different methods in that. With dinner theater, you got a skit. You kind of have some lines, and you did that for a while. I did like 6 months of dinner theater, but it's really all improv. So there's that. And there's real actual improv theater training. And I didn't get to that high level, but the techniques of improv is just taking a keyword or the scene and knowing what's the variables in the scene and knowing how to be in the character that you are in to play the role.
So basically what you're saying is they give you a scenario and they say, Tommy, you're the principal. he's going to play the kid that set the
Yes.
school on fire,
Right.
but he won't stop laughing, and you can't get him to be serious. And
That's
then
correct.
you just deal with it.
Yes, sir. Or like in radio, for example, you can't have dead air. So in radio training, my instructors will come into the booth and they will pull everything that's around you from there could be a commercial that you can read, 30-second commercial. You have the weather clip, you have a little weather clip that you can read, and they'll pull all that stuff up and they'll lift the needle off the record. And you have 45 seconds or maybe a minute and a half. And you better be coherent. You better have something very powerful to say. That's like improv as well. They do that all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you retired from the military, how did you get into the televangelist or the media preaching thing?
So
Were you doing that in the Navy?
Well, yes, I wasn't a chaplain in the Navy. I was a hospital administrator. So, but I was always a chaplain liaison because I'm an ordained minister as well. Civilian trained, went to seminary school and all that stuff. So I have a terminal degree, seminary degree, master's and doctorate in seminary, and I have a Ph.D. in business. So let's lay that out there. So when you retire, your denomination sets you up wherever you're at because you're ordained in their system, wherever you're living, to be at a church and assigned. I also have my own nonprofit 501c3 parachurch organization. And my board and I sat down and I said, I can't keep doing these churches anymore because they're holding me back from reaching the lost. I'm like an evangelist. So we started our ministry with radio, and we had a radio station, an internet radio station. And after we did that for a few years, I felt that we need to expand more, and we got into social media, all those channels there. And then from there to our YouTube channel, to getting on TV and having a TV channel.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
Very cool. So let's talk about this this big movie that you were talking about. I don't know how to pronounce the name of the movie. Megalopolis.
Megalopolis. Yes.
Let's talk, because when you told me about this, tell us about this, because I honestly thought that the director that you told me about, I was like, I had to look it up because I thought that he had passed away. I didn't know that he was even still alive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is what they say, the cherry on your career, I think, because ice cream, anyway. So there's an open audition in the area here in Atlanta. And again, I pray over everything I do, so you guys know that. And I said, okay, maybe I should consider that. I saw this email come through and say, Megalopolis, starring Adam Driver, and it has Lawrence Fishburne and has all these major stars, and it's a Francis Ford Coppola film. And it says open auditions on these dates. And it says, if interested, please respond by email for getting an invite. You got COVID testing and all this nonsense. So I said, okay. So I did. And then I got a call. Not a call, but an email saying your date is this date. Just bring your headshot. You'll meet Francis Ford Coppola. They'll ask questions. It's like just meet and greet. There was probably in the morning shift, probably close to 500 or more people. So you go through a tent, you get tested, and then all of a sudden you meet Francis Ford Coppola. And my group that I was in, we were the last group that walked through this auditorium where he was sitting on a big, on a table with people around him. And you give your headshot and you sit down, you shake his hand and say, how you doing? What do you do for a living? And this and that and the other. I just said, I'm a retired Navy officer of 27 years. And I said, I'm a podcast. And he goes, you were in the military? And I go, oh boy. Yes, sir. And then he goes, well, tell me about that. He goes, I directed Apocalypse Now. I do know that. and so we start talking a little bit, and I can't remember everybody sitting around him. And then they asked, well, what's the highlights of your career? I said, well, I was on 2 aircraft carriers. I was also in the desert, on Desert Storm, Desert Strike. And I started going, he goes, wow, tell me about the carriers. I told him about that. And then after a while, he just took my headshot and said, I think this guy would be perfect for the role of the general in this movie. And the I guess the casting director just took my headshot and said, okay. And then I shook his hand and walked out. 2 days later, I get an email and says, call back for the roles of 2 characters. The officer said the officer, and it said the general. So I looked at the sides between 2 of them. And then I went, okay, I got 2 lines per, character, 2 whatever lines. I said, okay. I get to the set or to the callback area, and there was a lot of people there. And some of them obviously trying out for the same role. Some of them wearing military uniforms. Okay. I'm staying in my mental capacity of I'm already an officer in my head. I didn't have all my garb on. I had a T-shirt, the military T-shirt color, and I had some kind of khaki pants that looked like, okay, military. And then the cast director comes out. She didn't have my headshot. Thank goodness I had a second one. I said, here you go, because you got to hand that to the director. And she said, you're going in with this lady here. You guys are going to be doing a scene together. I thought, okay, go in there. There's Francis Ford Coppola. There's all the casting people. There's all these producers in there. I think there's 12, 13 people on the table. And he says, okay, do you guys get your sides? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, okay, why don't you let's not use those sides. I want you to improv with me a little bit. I went, improv. I did. I went, improv. And he says, but the scene is similar to the sides. The person comes in, and I want you, and he says to this lady, I want you to say this. And Tommy, I want you to, respond. You're playing this character and this and that and the other. And the scene's going on like this, and ready, action, go. And I was waiting for her to say something, and I just jumped right into it. I went, whatever I was doing. And then finally he said, okay, good. Let's try something else. Tommy, I want you to stand over here. Ma'am, you're going to come in. You're going to be directing orders to him to do something. And then he's representing all these people around. And then you can tell the lady whatever you feel, because you're our spokesman. I said, roger that. Did that scene. And by the time I was done, he said, thank you very much. And I'm still in character. I looked at everybody and I went, thank you very much. Then about face, opened the door for the lady, let her out, and walked out. 3-5 days later, I get an email and says, you are our choice, our selection for the general. Nice. And I was blown away by that.
That's awesome.
2.5 days of shooting. Nice.
Where was that shot at? In Atlanta?
The studios here in Atlanta, where Marvel shoots their stuff as well. It's impressive. Yeah.
Very cool. So do you think that
and Giancarlo Esposito and Emmanuel and a lot of the big stars in the film I was in those scenes with, so that was interesting. And just listening to Francis Ford Coppola direct you was an experience. I'm just going to be honest with you.
A couple questions about this. So I was going to say, do you think that helps or hurts when someone shows up like dressed as the character, like in the, like, you said people were dressed as like the army characters, like in character. Obviously, I mean, that doesn't really matter because you were just in a t-shirt and whatever, right?
Yeah. I had a t-shirt on and pants that look like they're military, fatigues, if you will. They're whatever, but I didn't have a full dress. I couldn't bring my Navy uniform out.
Sure.
This is a general that is almost like Joint Forces Command. In my head, that's what I saw. And he's a 4-star, so I didn't have that kind of garb. But some people came out like they were National Guards or something. But the general, to me, I just look at the character and I said, okay, if he's the general with just 1 or 2 lines of what he says, I'm thinking he's a little bit different. So I just said, okay, my military bearing always comes out regardless if I'm doing something that's military. I have a military bearing that's professional. It's really, you already seen that. So I think with Francis Ford Coppola, he was like, he handpicks everybody. So whatever he saw in my presentation, based on all those people he looked at, over 1,000 people, I'm not the only one that had a military background.
Right.
I'm not the only one that auditioned for the role. So,
right.
There you go.
So do you think being on set then, and with the audition process, how you said he wanted you to improv that scene with the girl, was there improv during the movie? Or was it Exact, because he wrote this, right?
He wrote the
I've
whole
been
thing.
reading about this movie, and
Yes, sir. There was a scene. I think the first day, I'm leading, the characters down the flight of stairs like you're outside City Hall. You're going down, and he had me going backwards. And I finally did, after several takes, walking backwards and saying, "Come on, follow me." I finally get to the bottom of the steps, and I saw Adam Driver's face look at me because, I'm wearing really military, core frames, little shiny shoes. They don't have great traction. And I'm thinking, man, if I slip and go down these steps, my first day on the set. And I saw Adam Driver. He looks at me. He's a big boy. He's like 6'5" or something. And he's watching me going, "Come on, everybody, let's go." And he saw me go trip a little bit backwards. And he kind of went, and Fran says, "Tommy, I need to have the camera seeing you." I get to the bottom of the steps. I said, "Sir, with all due respect, I don't think I'm going to lead people walking backwards down any flight of stairs. I'm a general. Y'all follow me." You just follow me. So we kind of did the set differently, and we went down that way. It made people more comfortable, I'm just going to say. And so then he gets me to the platform. We're waiting for the subway, if you will. I call it subway, the train. And he says, "General," and he goes, "I want you to say this line." And I heard it, and I said, "Roger that." When I say roger that, you already see me do that. I acknowledged what my line was. I did that line. And then I get in the car, and then I have my lines that are designated. I have 2 lines, and then he added another line, and then he had me say something else on top of the original line. So I get those verbal lines, and I add those to my other lines, and I went from there. Then coming out, he gives me another line to say versus handing me a script that has lines in it. So some directors do it that way. It's called oral lines, and you better have them memorized. When he tell you how they want it delivered, you better be able to do it on the spot and ready to go every time.
do you have a technique? Because we talked about this earlier on Roseblood.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I met you, you were reading the script probably for Roseblood because you only had 3 days to prepare for that. Do you have a technique for memorizing things?
Yes, sir. So I went to Catholic school. I hope this helps for people who are listening. I went to Catholic school from 1st grade to 9th grade. There's classes you have to kind of like memorize things, scriptures, if you will. I was an altar boy. And so going from Catholic school, graduating from high school, getting into broadcasting, you have to memorize things a lot. Sometimes you can't just read the news. You got to know what the news said. So what I do is when it comes to acting, I look at the sides or the script, and depending on the scene, and I number everything by numbers. It's always numbers in my brain is easier for me, just like medicine. I know how many, milliliters, cc's. I got to know numbers. So numbers is easy for me. And so I number my lines per scene. And if it's scene 1 and it says in a house, then that to me is like saying the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. So when I can do Matthew 5 or Matthew 4, what I'm using as an example, verse 4, I know what that whole chapter talks about, and I know exactly what that verse is. So I number my lines first, and I go, I got 8 lines in this scene, and then I underline what I call cue lines for those that are saying something for me that triggers my line. So those are called cue lines. So I can underline a sentence or a key word, but I also know what they're saying without memorizing it. It's called read, repeat, repeat. But I number everything. So when the director says, "Let's do that line again," and I will go, "Okay," he just whatever I said. So I go, and he'll repeat the line. I go, "Oh, that's number 4." So I know where I'm at in the scene. Where other people have to go, "Let me see, let me. Where?" I say number 4, and I already know where I'm at. If that makes sense.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. It blows my mind that anybody can do any of that. Like I'm not good with that. I'm just not good with memorizing stuff. So is Francis Ford Coppola, he's 84. Is he still healthy? Was he with it?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's like anybody else. I would say in their 80s. I mean, he's got his faculties in order. Some people don't. He's not agile. he knows what he wants. He wrote the thing. He directs the thing. I mean, it's my first time meeting the guy, working with him, and he has a good AD staff, first AD, second AD doing their job, but he knows what he wants, and you can learn a lot from it. I learned a lot just having him direct and being able to watch him with, say, these notable actors like Adam Driver, Giancarlo over here, and so on. And I'm like, okay. And then he say, Tommy, I want you to stand right here. Yes, sir. And I want you to say it this way. And I go, Roger that. He goes, okay, and action. I go, bop, bop, bop. And he goes, yeah, that's what I like. I go, okay. So you kind of go, wow, you getting approval by Francis Ford Coppola. That's a good sign.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that goes in the resume right there. You just write that in.
Yeah.
Do you know the story about this movie, Ray?
I do not. I was kind of hoping we get to the point of what the story is of the movie.
Well, I don't know the actual like the plot of the movie, but the story like I'm sure that eventually there could be a movie about the making of this movie, because from what I read, he started writing this back in the 70s, right?
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s, yes, sir.
Yeah, and he's been trying to get it made ever since then. Yeah. And from what I read, like all of the movies that he made in the 80s and 90s were to pay off his debt and to get money to fund this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he wanted to fund this himself so he could do it the way that he wanted to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at the IMDb abstract kind of describes what the movie's about. No, I didn't get the script. I didn't get the sides in advance. This was interesting. I go into my trailer. There's my wardrobe. I had to do 2 days of wardrobe because I'm so stocky. They had to cut the uniform and order a new one. But I go into the wardrobe, I got it. Okay, here's my trailer. I go in there. There's my sides right there. And I'm like, okay. So all I know is my scenes. I can't read the entire script. So you're just kind of impressed. You're in a studio and you're looking at the props and you're looking at all the scenes that you're in, and you're like, okay, I kind of know what's going on in a movie, but it's a futuristic. It's like a Roman, back in the day of Roman Empire, how you get the government going and colonizing everything. I get all that. It's a love story too. There's an insurrection going on. There's a riot going on. I felt like it was back in 1999, 2000, maybe just 2 years ago. I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff in the movie. So,
see, in the day and age of the internet, they can't give you the whole script anymore because it would get eventually it would leak.
Yeah,
and then it would ruin the movie for everyone who's going to go see it.
Right. I couldn't even send. I couldn't carry my cell phone. I mean, I had my cell phone, but I couldn't carry it on the set. You can't just take pictures, everything like that. Now I'm in my own trailer. I took a picture of my headshot with my wardrobe on, but I couldn't take pictures everywhere and so on because they wouldn't allow that to. There's people who are taking pictures that got those things can get out, but the actors, I didn't see a lot of actors taking like some movies I've been on. Oh,
yeah, I was on Roseblood. I was recording scenes with my phone.
Yeah. See? Yeah.
So with that, when you say you just got your lines, are the other, do you know what the other actor is going to say? Are those lines?
Yeah, there's the scene and who I'm interacting with. I could see it says Caesar, and then it says the mayor. The mayor will say this. It had the whole scene, and let's say I had 3 lines in that scene. So I said, okay, but then my 3 lines became 6 lines because I got oral lines directed at me. Does that make sense? Sure. And then you move through there. Then the next day, not the next day, but my second day on the set, a month later, I actually had 1 line, and it became 3.
Okay. So is that harder, not knowing what, you obviously know your scenes and your lines, but is it harder, not knowing what the rest of the movie is about, how you're supposed to be acting for that scene? It seems weird not knowing what the rest of the movie is going to be about.
Well, I look at it as everything has its own place. I'm in a conference room. We're in a conference room. There's a podium there. The mayor's going to go to the podium to make a speech on camera. So there's cameras, and those who are playing the scenes of reporters and cameramen and so on. So in the scene, I'm the general standing right next to the mayor as he's telling the world what's going on. And then there's some commotion, and I say, Mayor, we really got to go. And then I escort him out of the area, and I tell my soldiers to lead the way or whatever I have to do. So I'm adding all that was verbally given me to what to say and do. And then that probably gets to the first day on the set when I'm going down those stairs, and it leads to that scene as well. So it's like two different ways of shooting the film. So
yeah, gotcha. So when is this? It's being finished now, right? I mean, it's
been done. Yes, sir. It's in post-production since we had the wrap party probably in March. I think it was middle to the end of March. So they're in post-production right now. I don't think it's going to come out until probably, I'm not even guessing. Next year, sometime next year. I don't know when.
Sure.
I was till 2024. So all I care about, honestly, is just having that movie be successful. I'm sure all the actors that are in there, they're doing their projects. There are other projects that are coming out as well. I did a TV pilot that's supposed to be hopefully picked up by Amazon, Netflix, or Hulu. Waiting to hear about that. They just finished 7 episodes. I'm in 1 or 2 of them. I think they said 2 of them, but I remember I did one, but the second one, that was a lengthy episode. But so those are things that could lead to big things too. So your career you move on when you know you did something until it comes out. And then you go, oh, yeah, I did that 2 years ago. I remember that movie. I hope Francis is around to see it. I mean, I hope he is, because if it wins some awards, I wouldn't be surprised. That's what I'm saying. If that's the best motion picture culmination of his career, that's going to be impressive for him to.
Hell yeah. Yeah, he hasn't had a movie out in quite a while, right?
Yeah, like 15 plus years or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, people have been waiting for this one for a while, for sure.
Look at that. Just go to IMDb and look at all the major actors in it. That's all you got to say is wow. It was $100 million+ budget or something like that.
Damn.
I make that over the weekend, but it's just something you do when you're podcast.
Yeah, that's what podcasters make on an average.
$100 million.
Yeah.
Oh man, Tommy, this has been awesome, man. What else have you been working on since then? Do you still own the barbecue restaurants?
Oh yeah, right now I own a barbecue restaurant, a software company. I own an editing company. Serial entrepreneur, if you will, minister. Still acting full time. So I got some things happening. I just got booked for a TV show right now. I'm just waiting for tomorrow's meeting on that. Auditioning for major commercials, because I'm SAG now. So it's there's some work out there even with the strike, but to get booked for a TV show. So I got to see how that one goes, and waiting to see after the strike's over what my manager is going to have me audition for, because she's aggressive. She's like, Tommy, you can do this character. I said, yes, ma'am. I'll do my best. And they go, oh, they love it. They love that interpretation of that character. So you just got to know how to interpret what's going on and play a different role every time.
Sure. So being in the SAG now, how does that work with the fan films? Because you're also in a Spider-Man fan film that's coming out soon, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's going to be popular too. The people on that one, man, there's some medical issues with certain people. I understand that. There was COVID issues. I get that as well. They're probably in post-production right now. I believe they are. Just like Peter's film, when you see, there's a trailer out there. It really looks like Sony made it. It's that good. If you see the trailer, just go to the fan film on that and look at the trailer. They're supposed to come out this year. I don't know when. I can find out, but they're also busy actors and directors in other projects too. So as a SAG, I can do fan films. I can't do any real non-union stuff unless it's photo print type stuff, but mostly it has to be SAG, and that's okay. You know, I told Peter, if you want me to be in your project, just apply for SAG. Your project to be SAG, I'm happy to be in it. So I said, he goes, "Oh, I will." I said, "Okay." SAG, what did it call? SAG ultra low budget film. SAG ultra low budget film.
What am I missing, Ray?
Well, I actually, this is the first because I have 2 real questions
Oh, wow.
for Tommy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I usually do this segment called Real Questions, where I'm going to ask you a question and you have 60 seconds to answer it.
Okay.
But while we've been talking, I actually came up with 2
Okay.
for you, Tommy. So Casey's going to get his little timer ready because that's his.
Got it.
All right. So my first question for you is, you talked about karate tournaments that you were in.
Mm-hmm.
When you were in a karate tournament, at any point did the thought of doing the crane kick go through your head?
When I did my karate tournaments in the 80s, no. When I did karate tournaments in early 2000 to 2004, no, because everything goes faster than the Karate Kid. So you got less than so many minutes to get your points in. 3 points you win. I'm just going to go, and I'm done. It was so fast, I didn't even see it.
All right. And my second question. All right, just restart the timer, Casey.
I got
I
it.
did good on that one.
That was good. All right. When you were on set with Francis Ford Coppola, did the thought ever go through your mind to try and get him to get you Nicolas Cage's autograph?
The answer is no. All I cared about was I'm on the set. I see Adam Driver, Giancarlo Esposito. Francis Ford Coppola was, to me, the star of the show. And all I cared about is, how you doing, sir? I'm ready to work. I didn't care who your relatives are, who your mama is, who your daughter is. All I care about is, how you doing, Francis? Because I said, you're the godfather of Hollywood movies.
So you said
Bravo,
that
Tommy, bravo.
you said that you weren't allowed to take your phone, around set, but like backstage, like you had your trailer and stuff. How are selfies frowned upon back there, like with other actors and stuff, or is it kind of like, is it something that you just don't do, like, out of respect?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, people had their cell phones. I can say they had their cell phones. You just can't pop it out and start taking pictures while you're shooting your scene or waiting to be called on the set. They escort you onto your set. People come and get you. You're literally sitting in the chairs that have the actor's name on it. I have the general. There's Giancarlo. There's Adam Driver's seat right there. So we're the cast. There's the support. All those over there. And I saw people on their phone, but when it's time to go shoot, you either turn it off or put it away. You can't just be out there when you have a break between the scene and start taking pictures. So for me, I turn mine off. The thought of my thing ringing or vibrating in a scene, no.
That's some really heavy improv right there, Tommy. When you have to go, hold on, and you have to answer your phone. It's the president.
Yeah. It's the president. It's the president. Excuse me. Adam, hang on here for a second. Yes, Mr. President. The general here speaking. Honey, I told you not to call me. I'm on the set with Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah.
Tommy, this has been awesome, man. You're welcome back anytime, brother.
I love it, man. Thank you so much, guys. Blessings on your podcast, man. I love this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Please tell everyone where they can find your podcast, where they can find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, just go to YouTube and type in TLDM, Evangelistic Media Network. You can watch some TV, movies, and all that stuff. And then there's my sermons out there. It's really well done, produced. Got over 20,000 followers, I think we have, or subscribers. I get them mixed up. And it's still growing. So we're really, really happy to see that our channel is getting that much traction.
Awesome, man. And I'll put all the links for everyone in the show notes as well, too. So thank you, man. I appreciate this.
Thank you, my friends. Blessings.
Sure.
We'll talk to you soon, buddy.